Hello. Are you a fan of horror? Well, have I got the place for you? The place that you should be is on Literally Books channel, where there's a new video series just for folks like you who like scary spookies, skeletons, werewolves, and all things that go bump in the night. If you like listening to people discuss horror literature, then this is the place for you. It's a new video series called The Secret Society Red, where the cult, led by Virgil from Literally Books, joined by me from Bad Taste Books, and Chris from Liminal Spaces. Each month or so, we will be gathering around the glowing laptop. Each month, we will gather in our robes to discuss the most terrifying tomes ever printed. Episode 0 has already dropped, in which we discuss our background with horror and horror in general. Episode 2 will feature us discussing Pin by Andrew Niederman. Episode 3, we will discuss The Light at the End by Skip and Spectre. And episode 4 will have us discussing All Heads Turn as the Hunt Goes by John Ferris. If you're a fan of horror and you haven't found yourself there, what are you doing? So pour yourself a goblet of blood, don your red robes, and join us on the channel Literally Books. The next episode will drop faster than you can scream.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my May reading wrap-up. I'm going to talk about what I read in May. Let's do it. All right, so in the month of May, I read a lot somehow. Granted, I think I read 13 books, but I think some of them are, like 4 of them are just like short middle grade books. Some of them I listened to on audio, so that is a little quicker, but still, got through a lot. So we had some fantastic stuff this month, some really fantastic books, and some really truly atrocious books. So let's do it. Let's see what we got. All right, first thing I finished in the month of May was Animorphs number 33, The Illusion, published in 1999 by K.A. Applegate. So this book, man, I feel like I just need to jump right back onto my Animorphs soapbox. This was so good. This is like top tier Animorphs. I'm consistently shocked by how hard this series goes. Like this book is like 90% a torture scene of a child. Basically, the Yeerks, the evil aliens in the series, develop this technology that can demorph someone, and so they're trying to use it against the Animorphs. And this one character who is essentially trapped as a hawk. We're going quickly. He's trapped as a hawk. Just accept it. So he knows that they will think that they can demorph him, but they can't. And so they hold him in this room, and they're essentially they're trying to demorph him, and he is not. And these aliens believe that their demorphing gun doesn't work, and so they have this other gun that can essentially cause insane amounts of pain and insane amounts of pleasure and all this stuff, and they're just torturing him the whole book. And we're going through his mind and all of these thoughts that he's having, and all of these questions about himself that he's been experiencing, who am I? Am I a hawk? Am I a boy still? It's this series, man, so good. This is like a 4.5 Animorphs book for me. It's top notch. I love this series so much. The next thing I read was Hard to Be a God by the Strugatskys, published in 1964. So this is a classic science fiction book by 2 Soviet authors that I had never read before. And I read it, and it was really good. The story is basically about these people from a future version of Earth who go to another planet, a faraway planet, also inhabited by humans who are kind of in the medieval stage of humanity. And they go there as these sort of on-the-ground historians or observers. They record history, and they can interact slightly, but like they're not allowed to kill anyone. They're not allowed to make like great changes because they've kind of, as a society, come to learn that society only reaches this state of utopia, essentially, after going through cycles of upheaval and various stages of humanity, and they go back to observe this era of humanity that is still in like a very barbarian stage of this medieval times where the ruling class is very anti-education, anti-learning, and very heavily pushing like religion and like a very strict one that is oppressive to the people and all this stuff. And so it's about this future Earth man observing the society, and it's all about how hard it is for him to have such great power and knowledge over the people that he surrounds. Like, he knows that he could change the outcome of this horrible time that he's experiencing, but he knows that he shouldn't, because for the greater good ultimately, but like for the people he's interacting with, he can't save them. And it's all about how it's essentially hard to be a god, or hard to be in position of godlike power and knowledge. Really, really interesting book, really well written. Sometimes like almost comedic in parts, I felt. I really liked it. This was the first Strugatsky book I've read, but I would definitely read more. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. The next thing that I read was the second book in my Scorpio series, Scorpio Rising by Alex McDonough, who is a pen name for Janet Fox. This was published in 1990. So if you didn't hear me talk about the first one, it's basically about this alien who accidentally gets this orb that can time travel him, and he goes back. It can travel him through time and space, but he doesn't know how to use it. So he kind of like steals it from this warring group of aliens on his planet, and it warps him to medieval France in the first book, and he kind of gets into these adventures with this woman who lives in medieval France, and both of them together grab the orb and teleport to I think like 100 years further in the future, and in England. And so this book is very much similar. They arrive in England and they're trying to figure out more about the orb, figure out where they are, figure out what they should do, and they're interacting with various people in this time in England. This book series is fun and well written, but very simple. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean? It does not get very deep in any aspect. It does not. It's hard for me to describe. Like, I think last time I described it as like, it's not YA, but it's almost written like it's YA. Like, it feels a little cheesy, a little simple, but I'm okay with that. It was just a fun quick read, and I think there's 6 in the series, and I'm absolutely going to read all of them. So this was like, this was a 3.5 out of 5 for me. It was enjoyable. The next one I read was Goosebumps number 33, The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam, from 1995, written by R.L. Stine. So obviously I've been reading through the Goosebumps books in order, the original 62 at least. I'll probably keep going, but that's what I'm doing for now. It's my project. And some of the earlier ones really gave me that excitement and that feeling of nostalgia and that feeling I got when I read Goosebumps as a kid. But most of them, if I'm being completely honest, have been like, they're fine. This one, though, this one slaps. This one is so good. I am obsessed. This immediately hooked me. I finished it so fast. It's basically about these kids who are on a road trip with their parents, and they have one of those hook to the back trailers. And they're like, "Can we ride in the trailer, Mom and Dad, while you guys drive in the car?" Which is not a good idea, I don't think. And the parents were like, "Yeah, okay." And sorry, there's like a bug. So the parents were like, "Yeah, okay." So they put him in the back of the trailer, and they're driving down this like mountain road, and the trailer de-hitches and slides like off the road through the forest. And they're okay, but they get out, and there's like this weird summer camp. And the camp counselor shows up and is like, "Come on down and like have fun at camp while you're waiting for your parents to find you." And this camp is like weird and obsessed with sports, and they've got this like bizarre little purple jelly, like it's like King Jelly Jam as their mascot. And it's exactly what I want out of Goosebumps. It is weird, and you're constantly wondering what's going on. What is the deal with this place? It's creepy, just a little bit silly towards the end. It's like the perfect recipe of Goosebumps. I feel like sometimes they're just like not that interesting, or they're too predictable, or they're too silly. But you gotta have the perfect sprinkling of all of these factors. And this is it, guys. If you want to read one Goosebumps book, I mean, I'm not saying this is my favorite, because I'm gonna rank all these when I'm done with them. But this is sitting in the top. This is top 5 for me so far. So 4.5 out of 5 for me. Okay, so the next one, a lot of people are going to be happy about this. I finally read Robert E. Howard stories. I read The Coming of Conan the Cimmerian from 2002. This is a collection of stories by Robert E. Howard that were originally published, various weird tales and stuff. I'm not going to go into the publishing history, the complicated publishing history of Robert E. Howard stories, but they were published in the pulps, and then in the 70s they were published in a series of books, but they were heavily messed with by some authors, L. Sprague de Camp and Lynn Carter, and so these collections, there's 3 of them, and from what I understand, if you want to read all of the Robert E. Howard Conan stories as they were written, in the order that they were written, you can read these 3 volumes. And so I read the first one, which has a number of Conan stories in it, and this is the first Conan I have read. I have been hearing hype for this on BookTube for so long, and I was a little like, I don't know, like if I don't like it, I'm gonna have to say that and get crucified. Luckily, I did really like it. Robert E. Howard has a really excellent prose. I feel like sometimes he can get a little too lyrical for my taste, but mostly it's really enjoyable, and he evokes this sort of, I don't know, fantastical vibe that is quite perfect for these stories, and I can't really put into words. He can. Just like all story collections, though, there are some stories here that I liked more than others. I think the ones that worked for me were the more like sort of immediate adventure type stories. The ones that got real complicated with the battles and the those, I got a little, and maybe I shouldn't have. I listened to this one on Audible, but maybe I shouldn't have listened to the whole thing back to back to back to back. I was getting a little Conan out in parts, but I think if you just want to check out one story, The Tower of the Elephant is in here, and that is a sublime story. It is so good. That is far and away the best one here. My second favorite one, I should have pulled, here they are. My second favorite one was Zuthal of the Dusk. I loved that one. I thought that was a ton of fun. And funny little aside, I was doing a little research on this after I finished reading it, and Fritz Leiber has a quote, and I didn't pull this up, but he said something along the lines of, "This is one of Robert E. Howard's worst stories. It is repetitive and like stupid or something." I mean, he didn't say stupid, but he was like, "It's repetitive and I don't know, something." And I was like, well, I think we all know who has the bad taste in books here, don't we? Is it me or is it Fritz Leiber? It's Fritz Leiber, right? Yeah. Anyways, moving on. That was that's 4 out of 5 for me on those, because some of them, what the fuck? Some of them were not as good as the others. If they were all on the level of Tower of the Elephant and Zuthal of the Dusk, I would be like, but I'm definitely going to continue with the other volumes at some point because I really like them. Sorry, this little fly is like driving me nuts. Okay. Oh boy. The next one I read was Up the Line by Robert Silverberg, published in 1969. If you watched my last video, you'll know I didn't like this at all. I hated it, in fact. It made me upset. But I'll talk a little bit more about the book itself. So the book itself is about it's about the future where we have the ability to time travel, and there are time travel tourist services, basically. And it's actually a really interesting, like, sort of world that he set up here with this, the explanations he gives for how this time travel works and how the time travel, like, couriers go and police things if things are changed. And I'm not going to get into depths about the details of how this works, but it is interesting. And, you know, they go back to these various historical events to view them. So, like, you know, the crucifixion, the signing of the Magna Carta, the famous battles, and these rich tourists can just go watch these and experience these events. And that is interesting. And if he had done, and most of the events that they're going to are like bloody, horrible, like, times in society's history. And, you know, if he had sort of written a book delving into, like, how troubling it is that that's what we want to see, or how troubling it is to the tour guide who has to witness the most horrible events in society over and over and over and over again, that would have been great. But instead, he would rather have tons of weird sex scenes and rape and pedophilia and all this stuff that is being done by the main character. And I think we're supposed to like the main character. I don't know. And, like, he feels no remorse, and he's just like, every man character is exactly the same, and it is bizarre. Like, I couldn't even buy into the world because these characters are just so off from the norm. And I talked about this more in my last video, but it's like, I'm all for horrible characters, but you have to have some, like, normal characters to establish a baseline of this world. Like, I have to buy into the normalcy of things. Like, there has to be a counterpoint to the, like, if he's bad, I have to know he's bad. But if he's just like this, I don't know. The whole thing was just, and then he's like going back to have sex with his grandma and his great grandma. It was like so ridiculous. And then towards the end, the time travel stuff sort of comes to a head in a very interesting and exciting way. And there's, like, some cool stuff that's done with the, like, limits of time travel and the rules of time travel that he's established. But, like, by that point, I was so mad I just didn't care. So this gets a 1 out of 5. It sucks. Don't read it. After that, I read The House by Bentley Little, published in 1997. I have talked before about how much I love Bentley Little. He's one of my favorite horror writers, even if that may be a guilty pleasure. I just like his writing. He is the king of writing a banal and mundane scene, like a guy going to the grocery store to buy his groceries. The prose just flows and everything feels real and natural and vivid and normal. He's the king of writing normal. And then he sprinkles in bizarre things that escalate, and by the time you get to the end, it's just batshit. And that's like his thing. That's kind of his formula. This book is a little different than his formula. It follows too many characters. I want to say 5, but it follows too many characters. Each chapter jumps perspectives, and each of these characters is going through similar events, which does get a bit tedious. And then it all concludes, and I feel like I kind of have to tell you this. It doesn't conclude, but like halfway through the book, they all kind of wind up at this house. And I keep thinking I want to describe it as House on the Borderland because while I've never read the William Hope Hodgson book, that is kind of what this is. It is like a house that sits on the border between our world and like another dimension. A dimension, like this house is what holds back like the evils and the demons of this other world from our world. It's the house on the border. And there has to be people living in the house to keep the house. I don't know, whatever. It gets a little heady, a little fantastical. I liked it fine. It's not my favorite Bentley Little. It's not my least favorite Bentley Little. I'm waffling between a 3 and a 3.5 for this one, but I might go 3.5. Also, one very interesting fact that you may not have known, Stephen King, as he has said before, because the man has talked so much on the internet that you can probably find it somewhere, but he has said before that he always has a book with him because he likes to read when he's, eating his lunch. He likes to read when he's in line at the DMV or whatever. He likes to always have a book with him. And as you also may know, there was an incident years ago where he was walking down the side of a road and he was hit by a car and he almost died. The fun fact is that The House by Bentley Little is the book that he had in his possession when he was hit by the car. And apparently, as the story goes, it lay on the side of the road next to him, splattered with his blood. And Bentley Little has said that event, because apparently Stephen King is a big fan of Bentley Little, which is why most Bentley Little books have a blurb by him on their cover. But he's always been like supportive of Bentley Little throughout the years, and so but I guess that him carrying that book during that event like skyrocketed Bentley Little's sales of this book, which is so morbid. It kind of humorous though, but it might be one of his best-selling books, but it's mid-tier Bentley Little for me. Up next, I read In the Mall of Madness by A.D. Arrow, published in 2024, and this is Bumps in the Night, book number 1. So, I've interacted with A.D. Arrow over Instagram a handful of times, and this Bumps in the Night series is kind of like a Goosebumps throwback series, is what I understood. And I thought that was really cool, and he seemed like a nice guy, and I would interact with him now and then. And I love that he was doing this. I was stoked that this existed, but to be completely honest, I was kind of like, well, I've got so much like nostalgic books from the actual era that I need to read that, we'll see. Maybe I'll get around to this someday. But I just kept seeing him posting, and he seemed like such a cool guy. And these books looked pretty fun. And he posted a sale where he was like, "I have this and a T-shirt for like a good price." And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna support him and buy this book and this T-shirt. And so I did, and I read it, and I read this thing in like a day. Not that it's that long, but I crushed through it. This is so good, and I'm not just saying that because I've like messaged this guy a couple times on Instagram. This book is like everything that I would want out of 90s middle grade horror, but better, and then like none of the bad stuff, like none of the boring stuff or the lame stuff from 90s middle grade horror. This is so much fun. I was blown away by this. And I even messaged him that. I was like, I am blown away by your book. It's so good. But yeah, basically the story is this small town, and it's through the eyes of one of the kids in the town. And she wants to be like a documentary filmmaker, or really, film videos for TikTok or whatever the youth do. And this bizarre corporation comes to town and kind of overnight is like, we're building this gigantic mall and you people can't stop us. And like the town council wants to stop it, but they can't. And this mall like goes up overnight, and creepy things seem to be happening, like with the mall and with the lady who runs it. And everything just seems weird, which is like what I love in these kinds of books, when situations are weird and we want to find out what the weirdness is about. And it was just fun and exciting, and weird, crazy stuff happens at the end. I loved it. This is like, dare I say, like maybe 5 out of 5 for me. I mean, this is, for what it is, it's kind of perfect. So go buy it. All right. Up next, I did Deathlands number 6, Pony Soldiers by James Axler, written in 1988. So I've talked about this before. The Deathlands series was a series of post-apocalyptic action adventure novels published by Gold Eagle monthly, I think, for years and years. And then when Gold Eagle folded, Graphic Audio purchased it, and they made sort of audiobook only versions for a long time. And so if you count all of it, there's like 170 of these books. There was one movie made for the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day, which I cannot for the life of me find a DVD copy of it for a decent price, and it's not streaming anywhere online. But I want to watch that one. And then apparently it's been picked up for like a series that might be coming out soon. But I love these. Like, these are pulpy guilty pleasures, but they are so much fun. I'm obsessed with these. I've read 6 now, and all 6 of them have been fantastic. They've been exactly what I want. So I kind of jump back into this occasionally as like a palate cleanser. Just give me something fun. Not that, the last book I read wasn't fun, but so it's not like I needed it. Sometimes I just like fun. Often I like fun. And this is fun. This one in particular was interesting because I know that James Axler is a pen name for various people, but I know the first 30 or so books were written by Lawrence James? I don't know. Someone. And he wrote a lot of I believe he wrote some of the Piccadilly Westerns. And so it was really funny because this book actually had a reference to Edge. Because I bet this guy was friends with like George Gilman or Terry Harknett or whatever. And it was so funny because these characters are talking about like, oh, all these big, people from history in the Wild West, like Billy the Kid and, whoever, and Edge. And I was like, and Edge? Did you just say that? That's amazing. Because I just read one of the Edge books. But that was a fun little Easter egg. But this book in particular has them kind of teleporting to a different area in the Deathlands and seeing what they can find. And they come across this group of pony soldiers, like the ancient, not ancient, like the soldiers from the Civil War in history, and Indians. And so it's kind of like his way of I think the author was basically like, I really want to write a Western, but I have to write a Deathlands book. I don't know. And he found a way to make the Deathlands series very Westerny. So this one's fun. It's kind of like a Western Deathlands book. So, yeah, I don't know that I need to say much more. It's not my favorite one so far, but it's definitely not my least favorite either. Probably, I'm waffling between 3.5 and 4, but I think they've all been 4 stars so far. So I'm going to stick with it because it's still a 4-star book for me, 4 out of 5. You guys bored yet? There's a couple more to go. Stick around. Or don't. You probably should, though. The next one I read was The Ascent of D13 by Andrew Garve, published in 1969. I'll flash a couple covers up here for fun because I found one that I don't have on me at the moment, but in the store, and the cover is like kind of bad, but in the best way possible, and I had to buy it immediately because I love any sort of story that involves mountain climbing. And there are some other covers that I think some people would argue look cooler, but they would be wrong because my cover's the best. This story follows, it starts out with a U.S. airplane that is on its way somewhere, and it's carrying a sort of top secret camera that can film, I can't remember the details, like maybe it can film in the dark, using heat sensing technology that, I don't know, whatever. It's a great spy camera. It's new technology. And the plane is hijacked by someone on board, and they attempt to fly it to the Russian border because Russia wants this technology, and the plane ends up crashing on the Russian and Turkish border on the top of this really tall mountain. And so America sends a team, an American man and one of the greatest climbers alive, who is this British guy, to ascend this mountain and retrieve the camera before the Russians do. And what we get is this really realistic, really intense climbing book, basically. And when they get to the top, there's a little interaction with the Russians, but it's not action-packed at all. And he meets up with this woman Russian who, through a series of events that I'm not going to ruin for you, but it's basically one character from this team and the Russian woman who are left alive, and they have to make this decision of like, do we work with each other? Do we climb down together? Because if we don't, we might not survive. Do we climb down on the Russian side? Do we climb down on the Turkish side? Can we trust each other? Can you trust me? Are we falling in love? And it can get a little, a little cheesy, but I kind of loved this. It was well written. It was just like a fun, interesting read. And I thought that how it concluded was good. I thought this was great. I loved it. Yeah, 4 out of 5 for me. Oh, Lord have mercy. So, okay. The next one I read was a book called Curfew by Jane Cowie, published in... I clicked on something else. Hold on. Published in 2022. So I went to a wedding with my wife recently in Ohio, and we had a long drive, and we dropped the kid off at the grandparents' house, and we were like, let's listen to an audiobook. And she's going through these suggestions from stuff she has on, that she sees available on her like Libby app. And she's reading out these things. She's like, oh, this is like this really acclaimed lit fic book about, these people doing things and emotions and stuff. And I'm like, I'm just being an ass. And she's going through like, what about this one? And finally she was like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know, a sci-fi book or something. Because we both like sci-fi. There's plenty of things I would want, but I know we both like sci-fi. So I said that. And she was like, oh, here's one. And I was like, what is it? And she was like, it's like a society where men like can't go out after dark or something. And I was like, all right, sure, whatever, play it. And I almost didn't talk about this book. But I can't do that. I was like gonna pretend I didn't read it and just pretend it didn't happen. I didn't have to talk about it, but I can't do that. So basically we're in a future England. And this is the only country that has done this, but essentially they have decided, due to a series of incredibly violent crimes against women, that they are going to put ankle monitors on men to keep them indoors at night. Like there's a curfew for men. I think once you hit age 10 and up. And it's just about how this has changed society, and that women hold most positions of power. Women have, most of the high-paying jobs, and they have a lot more. It's like a woman-run society with a lot of the advantages that would entail for women, which, cool, great. The problem here, and I could tell right away, I was like, this is going to have a bit of an agenda. Like, I'm not dumb. But I'm also like, feminism, hell yeah. So I was like, whatever, if it has an agenda, I don't care. But the problem is that this book does not really think things through. It was not written in an intelligent way. Like, constantly, I was poking holes, and so was my wife, in like all of the ways that this society works. We're like, well, how would that work? That doesn't make sense. That's stupid. And then I just didn't like the characters. The plot itself was meh. And just the whole world just doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. This could not happen. And here's my big problem. Okay. Like I said, if you guys have been watching my videos, you probably know where I fall on the political spectrum. I'm not going to, get into it, but I agree, obviously if there's violent crime against women, something, which there is in our society, and something should be done about it. Apparently this book was written due to a bunch of violent crimes that happened in England, and so the author kind of wrote this. And yeah, absolutely, that's horrible. I thought at the end of this book that the message would be, yes, there's a problem. Yes, something needs to be done about it. But locking men indoors at night, which is when they argue most violent crimes against women happen, which is probably true. And then did I mention that most of this book, like, they're like, oh, there's been no women have been killed in years. And I'm like, what about during the day? Are there I'm sure like they've gone down, but like there's nothing during the day. Whatever, doesn't matter. I'm not even going to talk about the ins and outs of this book because it's ridiculous, but I thought that the message at the end would be, there should be a solution, but this particular solution of locking men indoors at night doesn't work because of X, Y, and Z. And my response to that would have been, duh. Unfortunately, the message of this book was that men have found a way to get around their ankle monitor things and are now out murdering women. So this response of locking men indoors at night was not extreme enough. That's the message of this book. It's all the women of Britain banding together and being like, we didn't do enough. That's insane. Like, I am a feminist, but like, I am not. Honestly, I thought like the whole man-hating feminist thing was like fake. I thought that was something made up by men to paint a target on feminists, but this book must have been written by someone who hates men. There is no like complexity or layers to this. It's just like women good, men bad. So I couldn't stand this book. 1 out of 5. All right, and now for some lighter fare. I read Goosebumps number 34, Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes by R.L. Stine, published in 1995. This one wasn't that good. This one does not hold a candle to Horror at Camp Jelly Jam, that's for sure. And honestly, this is probably bottom tier Goosebumps for me. It's about some evil lawn gnomes, and then they turn out to be like mischief gnomes, and the whole thing is just silly and kind of boring. And like, I honestly kind of slogged through this one. It's probably a 2.5 out of 5 for me. And then one more, I swear, and that's it. I read Bumps in the Night number 2, Nostalgic Nightmare by A.D. Arrow, published in 2025. This is the second book in the Bumps in the Night series, and obviously I like the first one because I had to jump right back in and read this one. And the author himself told me, like, hey, my writing style really improved in this one, so I hope you enjoy it. And I would agree. I think his writing style has matured and gotten better. And I really, really liked this book. And then the ending happened, and I loved this book. So basically, it's a really, really fun, clever way to comment on my generation's obsession with nostalgia and with our childhoods and with things that happened to us in the 90s. And the way that it does it is just so clever and brilliant, and it works on a level for kids who might have 90s kid parents, and it works very well on the level for people my age with children. So good. So good. 5 stars. Loved it. This guy's great. And that's it. That is what I read in May. That was a lot. So thanks for sticking around, and let me know if you guys read any of these. Do you want to? Do you not want to? Do you hate my opinion? Do you care? Comment, please. Later.